Okay, so here's a little info on the recordings I made. All of the recordings are in 4K 30 frames per second from both cameras, and the Foxeer Box is totally stock. The GoPro, I'm using the Pro Tune setting with the GoPro color settings. So if you guys are wondering how the color is being reproduced, it's because I'm using the Pro Tune settings with the GoPro color settings, not the flat. So it's pretty obvious when you look at the same scene side by side that the color reproduction on the box is a lot bluer. At least it seems like in this type of conditions. It's pretty sunny today, and quite a bit bluer in the sky and in the water, and also here in this beach scene as well. Now some people might prefer that, or some people might prefer the way the GoPro handles color. You know, it kind of depends on where you want the processing to occur. Obviously, this other than the color reproduction, I think that the image quality on the box is on par with the GoPro. Both are very sharp and clear, but not over sharpened. And that's often a complaint with a lot of action cameras, is the image is over sharpened. And I don't think that while it is a little over blue on the box image quality, the is not as over processed as you see on a lot of other action cameras, where the colors are much more saturated than even here. Here we have a different scene that's later in the day. I think it's about an hour before sunset, and the sun's actually behind. And you can see that the image is fairly similar in both of them. Light handling is very good in both. And the blue is not as blue in this setting for the box, although you can see in the sky, it does look a little bit more blue than on the GoPro. It looks more washed out, kind of gray. And I think that, from my recollection, that blue color for the sky was more accurate compared to the more flatter portrayal in the GoPro image. Again, we're here at the lake, and it's a different angle. Again, late in the day, probably about an hour before sunset, but this time we're looking into the sun, and you can see how the light handling of the box stacks up against the GoPro. And you can see that the wide dynamic range on both cameras are fairly similar. You can actually make out the ducks, and they're not completely in silhouette like you would often see on a lot of action cameras, so I think that's a plus for the box. Again, the color reproduction is a little bit different on the box, just a little bit more vivid, basically, a little more saturated on the box versus the GoPro. But other than that, I think that they both look really, really good, and overall impressed with the quality of the box. I think it's a good camera. Now, whether or not this is the camera for you, or you'd rather get the GoPro, I guess you have to look at these sample images and decide for yourself. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.